Whoa, I actually did get that to work. Hey everyone, I'm Alexis the Ego Queen. Love me, I know you do. Anyway, today we are talking about Primaris Space Marines and the eventuality of them replacing normal Space Marines, the spooky nature of it, and GW just slowly steamrolling Space Marines out of existence. Is this gonna happen? Maybe. So, this is just my personal take on what GW is currently doing as a company for the Primaris Space Marine line. The easiest way of explaining this is, how do you get somebody with 10,000 points of Space Marine infantry to rebuy a Space Marine army? Well, you simply make them bigger, make them nicer, and make them a lot easier. The Primaris Space Marines offer an easy way for new players to get into the game, but a lot of veteran players have noticed that they're slowly phasing out regular Marines. Is this cause for concern, and should we panic about this? My short and simple answer is, well, no. It's an eventuality that Primaris Space Marines are going to be the only line of Space Marines that GW sells, aside from their exclusive kits like the Blood Angel Tactical Squad, the Blood Angel Assault Squad, Sanguinary Guard, and so on and so forth, as well as the Dark Angels having the Terminators, the Ravenwing Bikers, and the Black Knights, and their accompanying special units. This is why we're going to start seeing things like Tyrannic War Veterans for normal Space Marines, the Legion of the Damned, and other things such as in that category. Sorry, I am tripping over my words. My apologies. But that all being said, is this a bad thing? Well, if you come at it from a lore perspective, which is probably the weakest argument you can bring, you'll note that the Primaris Space Marines are just better in the lore than regular Space Marines. Hell, they can take a bolt shot to the head and keep fighting. They are superior in almost every way, and soon enough we're going to see all of the classic characters rolled out for regular Space Marines, rolled out as Primaris equivalents. Things such as Kento Sicarius will be a Primaris Space Marines. Marinus Kulgar, Primaris Space Marine. I kind of knew that this one was going to happen. I mean, Dante, Mephiston, they will be Primaris. How do you avoid a civil war with the Dark Angels? Well, you take Azrael and make him a Primaris Space Marine. I see this all happening in the very near future. In fact, I see this happening in less than 3 years. But is that necessarily a bad thing? No, it really isn't. People need to calm down about the Primaris Space Marine line. A lot of veteran fans have actually, well, kind of assaulted newer players. Not assaulted is a bad word, but have talked down to newer players about their love of Primaris Space Marines. And if you go into any forum and post about Primaris Space Marines being one of the new steps or the next evolution of Space Marines, they yell at you, curse at you, and tell you that, oh, that's not how the lore is. Even though if you read Corvus's book from the Horus Heresy, you note that the Primaris Space Marines were in that book. In fact, Belisarius Cawl didn't make the Primaris Space Marines. He simply took out the virus that was destroying the Primaris Space Marine project and reconstructed them from there. In fact, he's been working on it for 10,000 years, which is kind of good fluff. I'm sorry, that is good fluff. Yes, he hid it in Mars, which is a little bit silly. Like, how did no one else stumble into it? But this is the same universe where they had a civil war because they couldn't tell what time it is. This is the same universe where Dark Angels and Blood Angels show up to a battlefield, go, oh, you saw our Death Company, you saw our Fallen, and they fight each other for no real reason, even though the Dark Angel's secret is not that big of a deal. And the Blood Angel's secret is not that big of a deal. In fact, none of the chapter secrets are that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Oh no, we have Wolfen. So what? And for those saying that the Primaris Space Marine were just forced into the fluff, I kind of disagree with you as well, because they were desperately needed. After the Wrath of Magnus, we only had maybe a handful of Space Wolves left. Their entire chapter was absolutely devastated, along with the Dark Angels as well. From their war ensuing, which then brought on the Wrath of Magnus, which then went immediately on into the Fall of Cadia, which killed thousands of Marines, millions of guardsmen, thousands of sisters, and they actually had to rely on aliens to help them. So people who saying they're forced into the lore, I disagree with you. I've read all of their stories. Granted, they're boring as hell, and I will admit that the Primaris Space Marine stories are simply there to sell the mini. That's it. They're like, oh, look how much bigger and better they are. They're so much cooler. In fact, there's a whole new company for the Primaris Space Marines for every single army. To me, that's eh. Now, will we see Primaris Chaos Space Marines? My honest answer is no. Chaos Space Marines have been sized up since 7th edition. In fact, with the release of Thousand Suns Codex 7th edition, we noticed that the Thousand Sun not Rubric Marines. Wait, is that their basic Marine? I think that's their basic Marine. The Rubric Marines were already bigger than the average Marine. They were already the size of Primaris Space Marines. Then they made the Death Guard, which are also bigger. Now they're making the Black Legion, which is going to be bigger. And if we follow this trend, we will see that they're going to do this to the Emperor's Children, as well as doing this to the World Eaters. So will we see those codexes in the future? I can guarantee it at this point. Now, I can't promise you that this is a hyperbole, obviously, so don't take my word strictly for it. This is my educated guess based on sales records and based on current fluff and where I believe it's going to go. So when people start crying, really, about Primaris characters and Primaris this and Primaris that, the only real thing that I hear as an argument is, yeah, GW has a Primaris lieutenant fetish. I don't know why, or a lieutenant, depending on where you are. I mean, go figure. I'm probably going to collect all of them because, well, I like collecting things because I'm a hobbyist. As you can see, that's a lot of rants and rambles coming up, by the way. John, have I missed anything about the Primaris Space Marines?
I mean, besides the fact that this isn't the first time GW's ousted their regular Space Marine.
Oh yeah, they've done this almost every other edition. The Rogue Trader Space Marines were replaced by the 3rd edition Space Marines, which are then replaced by the 4th, and then once again replaced at 5th. And now we're looking at them being replaced by Primaris Space Marines. The older Space Marines, yeah, they're cool, but to be honest, this is a lot cooler. This is my Primaris Space Marine chapter called The Lost and Martyred. They are based on the 40k novels. That's where they get all of their company names from. And they are a full Primaris Space Marine force. Their entire goal is to rush to the front lines and resupply them, thus having all of the resupplying equipment on their vehicles. That all being said, I honestly think, when I first saw this tank, saw pictures of it, I thought it looked like a bobsled. I really thought this thing looked like some kind of shoe with a gun on it. Honestly, I thought it looked really stupid, similar to the Storm Raven. And then I got it in real life, and I saw it, and I was like, this is actually really cool. And with some minor conversion work, I made this tank stand out. Granted, there's no back on it because I'm putting LEDs in it. But I really like this tank. I really like the Primaris Space Marines. I like their playstyle. They're very simplistic. Are they great? No. They're actually not that good at all unless you play Dark Angels. But does that really take away anything from getting a new player in and going, Here's three Intercessor squads, an Interceptor squad, 2 Hellblaster squads, a Captain, and an Ancient. That is perfect for a new player. In fact, the Primaris Space Marine characters are kind of better than their non-Space Marine equivalents, except when it comes to tournament play or comes to a Captain with Jump Pack. Until we see a Primaris Captain with a, well, Jump Pack, I don't think we'll ever, yeah, you can't replace the Space Marine Captain Jump Pack Thunderhammer Storm Shield. It's the best Captain since last edition. So aside from him, all of the other characters are kind of better as Primaris Space Marines. They have more wounds, they're bigger, they look nicer, and aside from their cost, which is really expensive, they're more appealing to the eye. Now, I didn't really have this video fully planned out, so that's pretty much it for my thoughts on this. And John, I'm sure you've grabbed a few questions, right?
Yep.
Oh, hang on, here's one. This Primaris stuff is awful lore-wise. I completely disagree. In fact, I've stated my reasons in this video. The worst lore, there's pretty bad lore out there. In fact, 40k doesn't have a track record for consistent lore at all. I mean, it's really hard to tell what time it is in 40k. It's really hard to tell where the armies are currently. It's really hard to actually pinpoint what army is doing what and where the companies are. So it's, when it comes to 40k lore, I mean, it's not as good as, honestly, it's not as good as Starship Troopers lore, which is some of the best, or Dune's lore, which is really good. But it's really, really, really interesting. Although I tend to side with the stories that are more human-based, because Space Marines doing Space Marine things, fighting Space Marines while Space Marining up in the Space Marine, doesn't really interest me. The Horus Heresy books, for instance, unless they solely focus on one character, I honestly don't care about them. We know the ultimate ending, we know what's going to happen, and the method of getting there is just kind of boring. Like, hey, Horus fell. Why did Horus fall? Well, because he's a colossal douchebag. Hey, did you know that it was all Erebus's fault? Well, so what? Chaos is an inevitability. Like, they knew that that was going to happen. Now, John, I'm sure that there have been questions. Also, if you guys would like to support the channel, this is going to be the thing that I have to do as a YouTuber, and I apologize. If you guys want to support the channel, please use the super chat feature. You can interrupt and change the topic, or put up a new topic, or a thinking point, or a question, and I will get to it immediately. The super chats go really, really, really far for keeping my lights on, keeping me fed, keeping rants and rambles, and keeping battle reports on the channel. Now, let's get some questions in.
Indeed, indeed. First one is from Rockstar Sanguinius. Can we nerd rage?
Can we nerd rage now? Absolutely. We can absolutely nerd rage, freak out, and tell and watch every other clickbait YouTuber go, this is the end of 40k, or Primaris Space Marines are the death of everything. Personally, I think they are, and I think it's really obvious if you know anything about business. But then again, I look at it not from a lore perspective, but I look at it as a tournament player. I look at it as a actual gamer, and I look at it from a business perspective, because one of my hobbies is studying businesses and economic changes. Next question.
Indeed. With most likely Angron and Fulgrim, to return, leaving 4 demon Primarchs to go against Papa Smurf, which loyal Primarch will be next?
Honestly, I don't think any of them, and truth be told, the most popular Primarch is Sanguinius. So I hate to say it, but I honestly think at this point Sanguinius or the Lion are coming back. And this doesn't go against the lore either, as the Dark Eldar have made a crystalline version of Sanguinius that, well, a certain booty call away from getting it back. And if you guys don't understand that, simply put is, what is her name? Yvraine can simply go to the Dark Eldar and get it back, and then give it to Guilliman, who can then, I don't know, magic it back into the universe. Also, there's several living Primarchs in the 40k universe. In fact, there might actually be hundreds of them, because we know from the one book that about Fabius Bile, he's made dozens of them. Granted, they were all children. In fact, one of them, a baby Fulgrim, was given to Trazine, but it doesn't stop the fact that there could have been Primarchs that escaped. Anyway, next one.
Indeed. Let's see. At some point in the future, the Primaris Marines replace the standard tactical Marines. Would you like to see them carry a heavy bolter/missile launcher or a flamer/multi equip?
Well, with the newest sets coming out, the Battle Forces coming out, if you actually look at the Imperial Fist set, you'll see that the intercessors in it have the Signum as well as having a Power Fist. So we do know that changes are on the way, and I can almost guarantee at this point we will get another Space Marine Codex. In fact, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that we're getting a Codex Space Marine Ultramarines, or a Codex Astra, yeah, Adeptus Astartes Ultramarine, or a supplement that's Adeptus Astartes Imperial Fist, because for some reason they're pushing the Imperial Fist, and I don't really know why, but they are. And we already do have Primaris Scouts. Those are the Reavers. Next question?
Look, I'm okay with Primaris Lysander. Let's see.
Yo, Primaris Lysander would be amazing. Like,
Freaking
just straight up a Primaris captain with a giant storm shield and a Thunderhammer that's huge. Yes, please. Yes. Especially that Guilliman doesn't care about chapter relics. He's just like, all right, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. You guys had like 100 Fists of Dominion and never thought to use them? The hell is wrong with you idiots? Ugh. Anyway.
Yeah, Melodrex Part 2. But let's see. Isn't everything forced into the fluff? Like, forced the return of Magnus, forced the return of Papa Smurf, etc., etc.?
Of course. Well, I wouldn't say forced as much as the story expands into that. There is no set story of 40k. There is no conclusion to 40k. There is a conclusion to the end times, which is really cool because you have a start and an end of that story, which I think is really cool. And honestly, they should go back to that because they have a conclusive ending. 40k, on the other hand, has no ending. There is no end game. There is an end of the Horus Heresy. There is an end of the Beast of Rises. But there is no end of 40k. There is no end of every story. There is always an opening for them to add more into the future, as well as pushing forward to actually, well, to just add whatever they want. That's what's kind of cool about 40k. You get to forge your own narrative because it is an open-ended universe. Granted, this is pretty bad for telling a story because, well, there's not much of a story to tell. There's no conclusive ending. Like, what is the end of Azrael's story? Well, we don't know. He hasn't died yet. He hasn't done something super heroic yet. And I say that obviously as a hyperbole. I know people are going to be like, oh my god, Alexis, you're wrong about this, that, and the other thing. And I'm going to be like, that's an example, not an actual... Yeah. Next question.
Alexis, I want to finish my 30k army, and I'm worried about them phasing out plastic heresy bits. Do you recommend I buy 10 to 15 boxes of Mark III and 4?
No, because GW is going to keep resupplying those for the next 3 years. So if it's out on your GW site, chances are they're just going to remake it and re-release it. That set is going to keep going on for the next 3 to 5 years. Personally, if you want to build a company or a legion, I'd buy a few. My favorite being Mark III. And I like Mark III, Mark IV, and Mark V. After that, I don't really like the Space Marine armors up until Primaris Space Marines, where they actually look pretty cool. The newer armors kind of look meh. But yeah, I'd go for Mark III. The one thing that I would suggest you do is get your bits. Get your combi meltas, get your combi flamers, get that combi box because it is actually a huge savings. I would get like 3 to 4 boxes of those just to have them. Magnetize your sergeants and everything so they can have artifice armor or can't have artifice armor, so they can have combi weapons, so they can have extra close combat weapons. You know, just get all of those options. John, what army did they say that they were running again?
Oh, which person? Oh, they just said the 30k army.
Okay, for me, I run Death Guard in 30k. I run Loyalist Death Guard with Nathaniel Gallo leading. So for me, I went and got a ton of parasites. So that's the one thing that I would suggest is grabbing the bits, grabbing the shoulder pads as quickly as you can. If not, go to alternative sources to get the shoulder pads. I'm not going to say any because personally, I'd rather get them from Forge World or Games Workshop. Okay, next question.
When is the next Ransom Rambles?
The next Ransom Rambles is actually going to be filmed tomorrow, as I'm currently looking at this pile of stuff, doing inventory, and I'm deciding which I want to do first. In fact, if you guys use the Super Chat feature and you pick an army, I'll definitely do a Ransom Rambles on it so long as I have a set from it. Okay?
Speaking of Super Chat, we have one. Is it true that Primaris give you resistance against Spanish announcer tables? Yes.
They actually do. They are 100%. They just stop mid-air and float away and then crash into the ground. Never knew Alexis was a 30k player. Yes, I actually do play 30k. It's just very, very extremely rare that I actually get a game in. Next question.
I just joined in. What were your thoughts on what the future of the old toys will be? Will they be no longer allowed to be used or just made to count as the current line of models for game purposes?
Well, for starters, I have a first edition or second edition, whatever edition, Tyranid Hive Tyrant. It has wings, it has wings, it has its close combat weapons of the various types that I like. I use that one for tournaments because it is an official model and it is small and I can hide it. Granted, is that modeling for advantage? Technically, yes. The older models are a lot smaller, less detailed, and kind of look like garbage. But if you want a tactical advantage, use the older models. In fact, I kind of encourage it because I like power gamers. I like going up against strong lists. Like, I'm not the type that shies away from somebody going, hey, I want to fight you with 12 Imperial Knights. And I would just be like, okay. And I want you to use 2,000 points. Awesome! This will be a fun game. Let's see how quickly I die. I'm that type of player where I can play at a competitive level, I can play at a fun level, and if you want to bring the models that you like, just use the current rules for them, and I have no problem with them at all. In fact, I encourage that. Get the models that you enjoy and you like. Bring them to the tabletop. Paint them the way you want them. Forge your own narrative. Add it to the lore of my channel if you ever come in for a battle report. I encourage that and I want that. I love that. Just give me a heads up if you want to play competitively or if you want to play a more narrative game. This way I don't come at you with 20 Repentia going, this will be a fun game, and then you bring a tournament list and I'm just like, oh, I brought the worst unit in my entire book. And a lot of them. Anyway. Next question, and we got a super chat.
And dude, why do you like Death Guard so much?
I have an affinity for green and white. It is my family's colors as well as the Death Guard color scheme. And to be honest, I actually didn't like any of the Space Marine original chapters. I was leaning more towards Dark Angels, but I was like, meh. So when it came time to pick an army for 30k when it first came out, I rolled a d20, and I got Death Guard. So I did as much reading on them as possible, and I found Nathaniel Gallo, who is currently my favorite character in 40k, aside from, well, Celestine on the tabletop, but not Celestine in the books, because in the books, holy crap, they don't know what they're doing. But anyway, that is my reason for liking the Death Guard as much as I do.
but also Nathaniel Garrow.
Yeah, Nathaniel Garrow. The dude who bested a custodian. And yes, that's canon, Newball. Next question.
Let's see. Okay, but you can still use the older Space Marine models from editions 1 through 7 as normal tactical Space Marines in 8th edition, so there's no real...
There is no real issue. My biggest thing is that if you're not an exclusive Space Marine chapter, like the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Imperial Fists, that sort of thing. I said Imperial Fists. I don't know why I said Imperial Fists. I meant to say Space Wolves, Grey Knights, Deathwatch, things of that nature. They're going to be pushing Primaris Space Marines on you, and they're probably going to be halting the production of certain models. In fact, this isn't something that they do this a lot. And for instance, it's in my store. We have, since we started opening until now, we have all of the different boxes of Assault Marines, as well as Devastators and Tactical Marines. Every single box is different. So they slowly upgrade and phase out the last line of products because, well, it's not as detailed, or it's not as nice, or, you know what? They're a business trying to sell models. They're going to make the next one better so that you buy that one. Because, lo and behold, GW is a store that sells toys. And the best way to sell toys is to make them as nice as possible and give them good rules if you're playing the game, which GW has done in this edition. Next.
Okay. Also, if you want the secret to beating Alexis, Subterranean Uprising.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Let's see. From Sanguinius, would John be just described as a butt? Oh.
A war butt, yes. Next question.
Do you think Sisters of Battle should be replaced with Sisters of Silence if Papa Smurf starts fixing the Imperium?
The problem with replacing Sisters of Battle with Sisters of Silence is pretty simple. Blanks are 1 in a trillion. They're very, very, very rare. They're probably not 1 in a trillion, probably like 1 in a million. But still, they're extremely rare and usually killed on sight because people feel disgusted by them. If they could find a way to breed blanks, which I don't know if the Emperor ever did. I've never read any lore stating that he could, but somehow he had an entire army of them. So it is possible that he figured something out. But I can see those two armies being put in as Imperial agents and working very closely together because the Sisters of Battle abhor the witch. Sisters of Silence do it on a whole nother level. And it'd be really easy for the sisters to find the heretic psychers if they're not too mutated. Like, they just walk into a room, they just see some guy seizing up on the floor. Ah, must be the psyker. Shoot him in the head. Got him. Obvious jokes, but still. Okay, next question.
Indeed.
Although, wait, going back to that, I do want to see an expansion on Sisters of Silence, and I can almost guarantee that they will be having jet bikes and grav rhinos. I don't know if they're going to have the grav rhino, but I really want them to have grav rhinos, and I want the custodian to get their grav tanks in 40k properly. And I say that because they do have rules, yes, but it's still really expensive to get them. And I want the sisters to have some equivalents, some characters, some an Imagifier that amplifies their nullification or ups their leadership or ups the number of attacks or ups the number of shots or gives the enemy -1 to hit them or gives them an invo save. Something of that nature for them. And I want to see them have some sort of heavy weapon squad as well as something to actually deal with threats at a longer range. Next question. Also, guys, if you have a question, please try to put the word question or at EgoqueenAlexis or at Captain Jono. So this way we can actually pick it up a lot easier as John is currently going through all of the questions that you guys are leaving. And if you would like to ask your question directly and support the channel, please use the super chat feature. Okay.
Indeed. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
If Primaris is going to replace normal Space Marines, then would it make more sense to make Primaris less specialized and more versatile? Primaris options are now so limited, or now are so limited.
The reason that they're so limited is because Primaris Space Marines Primaris Space Marine armies are supposed to be an intro army. And even with being a very specialized, not specialized units, just very strict weaponry, they're still effective, like Hellblasters with a Chapter Ancient and an Apothecary next to them, especially if you're using Dark Angels, which is ungodly, really, really powerful, especially if you put a little Azrael next to them, giving them a 4-up invo and the ability to fire damage 3 plasma guns at rapid fire even, which is insane. But that being said, the Intercessors by themselves, they can either take sniper rifles or their regular bolt rifle. There are some options like the grenade launcher, and the sergeants are going to be able to be upgraded in the near future, as well as being able to take the thing that I was talking about a second ago that I forgot the name of, which is called a Signum. Thank you, brain, for kicking in at the last second. But they are specialized, yes, but you will start to see options on them, especially like the Redemptor Dreadnought. This thing has like a million options, so I went with the grenades, the bolters, and as many shots as I could possibly get, because I maximized AP1 minus shots, because it's kind of... I have the Hellblasters for taking out tanks. I needed this thing for taking out infantry. Okay, next question.
Will you play Blackstone Fortress?
Unfortunately, I am a little bit poor right now due to Christmas. If somebody is willing to donate me a Blackstone Fortress, I will definitely put it on the channel. I really, really want Blackstone Fortress. I am not kidding. It is possibly the coolest thing, and when I get Blackstone Fortress and play it a few times, me and my fiance plan to implement expansions for it from the channel and make them as fair as possible if GW doesn't expand it in the future, which I personally think that they might. But, you know, getting some custom characters like Inquisitor Hunt or Inquisitor Lockwood, which, you know, are two channel characters, one being the Inquisitor that Rosalina Lockwood has served, the other one being Rosalina Lockwood, and even implementing their acolytes into the game. I think that that would be kind of amusing, to be honest. But that's just me rambling about that, and I can make a whole separate video about that if you guys would be interested once I have the game.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Will we see Primaris Scouts?
Primaris Reavers are the Scouts.
Well, there you go. All right. At EgoqueenAlexis, talking about how 40k has no set ending, is that why the 30k story seems to be actually leading to something? Yeah,
the 30k storyline is, in my opinion, 10 times better than the 40k storyline. The 40k storyline is too hero-focused, where at 30k, the heroes actually die. Like, they have a death, and it is kind of big. Like, playing those characters, their death is a huge impact on how you see their character, like, if you reread it. Like Nathaniel Garrow martyring himself at the end of Garrow. Oh no, I spoiled that. It's been spoiled for, like, years. But anyway, once you know that, and you go all the way back to reading his first books and seeing his actions, you really get the sense that this character knew this the entire time. You actually get depth to the character, and you really get the heroicism of the character, because the 40k characters, unfortunately, at this point, you could take Azrael, you could take Khalgr, and put them on a planet filled with billions of orcs, and they would walk through it. Like, they have no death. Like, there is no consequence for them. But the 30k characters, on the other hand, they do have consequence. They do have a story that continues or ends, which I think is really, really, really cool. In fact, it was cool to see some of the characters come back in Beast Arises and then die there, which I really liked. Actually, one of my favorite things was, and I give him shit, but Gav Thorpe actually wrote Eye of Night, and in it, the admiral of the Battlefleet Gothic ship, the Inquisitor, I meant to say Inquisitor, of the Battlefleet Gothic sector, actually reappears in Eye of Night as a suit of Aegis armor. Like a possessed suit of Aegis armor, which then helps Greyfax get the Eye of Night, but he dies in the process. So not only did he die protecting Battlefleet Gothic and the Gothic sector from Abaddon, he also went out and protected Greyfax to get the Eye of Night and sacrificed himself yet again. He was such a cool character because of that. I love that. I actually really like that story.
Yeah.
Grand Booty Greyfax is a really cool character.
Agreed.
Kind of want that on a t-shirt. Grand Booty Greyfax.
I'd buy it.
And just her walking like haters gonna hate.
There you go.
But she has a cane because she's old as shit.
Hey.
She is old. She's literally over like 3,000 years old.
She don't look like it.
Anyway, next question.
Battlefleet Gothic 2 beta starts December 5th. Can we?
I know, I can't wait.
Live stream it. Yep.
You are definitely going to see it on the channel constantly. We are going to be bringing back Battlefleet and Chill every Tuesday because I love Battlefleet and Chill. It is my weekly Q&A series where we play Battlefleet Gothic. Next question.
And I'm actually going to win for once. Let's see. Question. Are you sure the Primaris Marines are the future? Because I call bluff on that.
You can call it all you want, but they're already going to start replacing the characters. Just saying. They are the future. Like, the normal Space Marines are, in lore, are not as good as them. The normal Space Marines are kind of jealous of them. And on tabletop, no one plays Tactical Marines. If you're going to bring Tactical Marines, you're bringing a 5-man squad just to bring a Razorback, or you're bringing Intercessors, because Sniper Bolters. They're just a better choice, in my opinion. Actually, Scouts are the best choice. So, Space Marines. A normal tactical squad hasn't been seen on the tabletop in, like, tournaments in so long, it's ridiculous. Actually, you don't even need to bring Tactical Marines to bring Razorbacks with Twin Assault Cannons. You can bring them for Devastators. That's where you're going to see your Space Marines going. To Devastator squads. To Specialist squads, like Vets. You're not going to see too many, well, tactical squads. Like, full tactical squads don't even see play this edition. Next question.
Oh, here's an age-old question. Why aren't Sisters of Silence put together with Custodian?
GW wants to sell us another book. It's why I hate the Custodian Codex. Because they released the Custodian Codex with 6 units in it. I know there's more, but whatever. For this story, there's 6. And then they didn't include any of the Forge World stuff. And before anybody says, well, they couldn't include the Forge World stuff. No, screw you. Chapter proved existed and proved that they could. And then on top of that, they freaking... I paid $40 for a really good codex. Like, rule-wise. Rule-wise, I love my Custodians. I absolutely love my Custodians. I love how they play. I love that they're nigh unkillable. I really like that. What I don't like is paying $40 for 6 selections when that should be included in a book called Imperial Armory or something like that. Or Imperial Agents. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah. Next question?
Yep.
Why is chaos a secret? Knowing chaos exists doesn't make you turn to it, does it?
Yes, it does. The very knowledge of chaos corrupts you. The entire knowledge of it. Like, just knowing that 666 is the mark of Slanesh, it makes you go down the path of chaos. It makes it so that demons can track you from the warp. That is the huge problem of chaos, and that's why the Emperor didn't want anybody to have religion. Because if they're all worshipping him and see his angels of death destroying Xenos, they know that those aren't demons. They know that the Emperor is good. And once they... oh god, somebody said Chad Marines. Get out. Like, that's just stupid. Get that dead shit out of here. Anyway, sorry about that. That was... I hate stupid memes about Primaris Marines. It's just from people who complain on forums non-stop who actually don't understand how the game actually works, or that GW is a business. Anyway, I forgot my point. Whatever. Next question.
Will they give Primaris when will they give Primaris combat weapons?
They're getting a Power Fist very soon. And I mean Reavers. Does everybody forget about Reavers? They are all close combat. Like, that's what they do. They have a bolt pistol and a close combat weapon. Now, will they give them anything really good? Probably not, because if you look at Space Marine veterans, those are where your close combat comes from. Your assault and your vanguard squads. That's where you're going to see Marines being more focused, too. Your close combat capability, your long range capability, where midfield is just going to be Primaris Space Marines. What I'm saying is they're going to get rid of tactical squads. There's no reason to have them. Next one.
Okay. Will you put Primaris in your Sons of Garrow?
I have been thinking about this. Now, the Sons of Garrow were originally set in M36. That's when they reemerged with Titan, which is the moon that the Grey Knights were founded on. The Grey Knights are created. The Sons of Garrow were made to protect them while they were being made, and to protect the planet a little bit more. They were part of the Planetary Defense Force before being able to leave the planet. They went to the system right next to it. They're from the Sol system. They went to a system next to it that doesn't have a name. We're just going to say it doesn't have a name because whatever. And that's where they found Provoska. And from Provoska, they actually started their recruitment. But for the most part, they're a fleet-based army. They're more or less a crusader army that isn't recognized by the Imperium at large. They're more of a secret military force of inquisitors than anything else. So they don't get reinforcements as often, nor would they get reinforcements from, like, Guilliman or the High Lords of Terra.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Which combi weapon specifically would you recommend for the Blood Angels Legion?
Probably Combi Plasma, I think, is the best in 30k. I'm more focused on Combi Meltas because they melt my heart and I love them. But Combi Plasmas are really good. Though they can kill you. Really up to you. Combi Flamers are really good for Overwatch. They all have their purposes.
Next question. Question. I've been building a Dark Angel successor army, and I'm wondering which HQ should I prioritize, or I should prioritize after getting a company master.
Oh, well, there's this very interesting character called Cypher. You should totally get him. He could lead Dark Angels, which I still think is hilarious. Anyway, next HQ, probably Azrael. I know it's a successor chapter, but just use Azrael's rules and say he's your own character. If not that, a couple of Psychers are really good. Talon Masters. Yeah, Talon Masters are insanely good. I really like Talon Masters. I want like 3 of them because they're so good. They're just under the wound characteristic to hide behind bikes, and they have so many shots. And they reroll 1s to wound, so they're pretty decent. You can also get a master on a bike to keep up with them to reroll 1s to hit. So it really depends where you want to go with your army. Do you want to go sit and shoot, which is a really powerful strategy? Do you want to go Raven Wing? Do you want to go Terminators for some reason? It really depends on the rest of your list, is how you build your HQs. Build the rest of your list first and then build your HQs to complement it.
Next question?
Yep.
Alright. Presuming Zinj knows everything that is true and false, and everything goes according to his plan, would this mean Zinj could be tricked if he planned on it?
Oop, you cut out?
I'm sorry. Presuming Zinj knows everything that is true and false, and that everything goes according to his plan, would this mean Zinj could be tricked if he planned on it happening?
Well, yeah, I mean, Tzeentch couldn't plan on Guilliman. I mean, Guilliman beat Fate Weaver because Fate Weaver couldn't determine the future of Guilliman. Okay, next one.
Okay. Will there be Primaris Terminators?
Aggressors. Next question.
Okay.
Aggressors are
Even if
insanely
Primaris
good, by
are
the
the
way.
future, do you think...
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Having a little technical issues. Even if Primaris are the future, do you think GW will abandon the fans for the Emperor Made
For the Emperor what?
Marines?
No, they'll simply keep Devastators and Specialist units. They're just getting rid of probably Tactical Marines. Will be completely phased out, because there's no need to take them anymore. And as recruits are dying, they're turning them into Primaris Space Marines instead of, like, as the Marines are dying, they're replacing them with Primaris Space Marines. So, chances are that as the Legion goes on for the next, let's just say, 600-700 years, we'll see more and more of them integrate Primaris Space Marines out of necessity. I mean, for Space Wolves, for instance, they now have like 700 Marines that are Primaris. Which is cool because they can actually get rid of the wolf motif and go back to them being sort of Vikings and not furries, which is creepy.
Yeah.
And stop stealing my fiance's culture.
Ah.
But what do I know? Anyway, next one.
If you have no soul, can demons still affect or possess you? Are you basically immune to demons?
You are never immune to chaos, even if you have no soul. Being a blank or being soulless doesn't actually stop physical corruption. So, for instance, Nurgle's Rot. If you're in an area with it, you can still catch it. It'll start rotting your body, but it will not rot your lack of soul, or soul, which is weird. But you can still get physical corruption, just saying.
Alright. Future is just not...
Whoop, you cut out.
Oh, Primaris Grey Knights in the future, or just not possible?
I would absolutely love Primaris Grey Knights, and we know it's possible because Primaris Librarians exist. So, more than likely we will see Primaris Grey Knights. In fact, I'm actually kind of upset that they didn't include those, but I can see them coming out in an expansion where Guilliman needs to fight alongside the Grey Knights even more closely for some reason. Guilliman is going to be the go-to answer for everybody getting Primaris Space Marines, as well as upgrades to their army. Except for Xenos races or, you know, the dirt bikes.
Indeed. Okay, next question.
Yep.
If Tzeentch is about knowledge, in a way, wouldn't he want the Emperor to succeed and bring science and reason?
To be honest, trying to judge what the Chaos Gods want and do is, well, it's just stupid. They'll never have a stated thing for the Chaos Gods. It's just, I mean, I don't even think we have official artwork of all of the Chaos Gods. No, Nurgle has no official artwork. The source for Nurgle's official artwork is taken from the front of Realms of Chaos, or one of the pictures in Realms of Chaos, but it's never stated to be Nurgle. Or Nurgleth, or however you want to say his older name. We do have official artwork of Slaanesh. We do have official artwork of Tzeentch, and official artwork of Khorne. But Nurgle? No. Also, I think the Chaos Gods are going to be used in a way of Guilliman being used as a way of increasing the armies and giving them new units, instead of actually having an endgame, because, well, Chaos can't have an endgame. It goes against their very nature. Next one.
Okay. What's your favorite Thousand Sons character in
Kion.
lore? Yeah.
Yeah, Kion. Who then became a Black Legionnaire. So, yes, Kion. Yes, he is just amazing. And he has a puppers. Anyway, next one.
Yep. What are you drinking?
I am currently drinking iced tea, because that is all I drink. And I'm currently drinking it out of a Harlequin cup. Although this one's beaten up and it has like scratches all along it, so I'm probably going to get rid of this cup soon.
So, Suicide Squad Harley Quinn.
No. This is actually, just before the Suicide Squad Harley Quinn character came out. This is, Death of Joker. I can't remember that storyline, but it's that Harley Quinn.
Fair enough. Ooh, here's a good one. Could there be chaos gods in other galaxies?
Maybe. It's, again, not important. But I think that is it on the questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give my final thoughts on Primaris Space Marines replacing normal Space Marines. Don't worry about it. If you look too deeply into the lore of 40k, you'll just get confused. Everything contradicts each other. There's so many things that just are silly and stupid, like Space Marines spitting acid for some reason, or Space Marines being able to eat a human brain, gain visions, and gain their intelligence and whatever. A lot of the things that Space Marines do is incredibly stupid, but, you know, you take a bolt round to their head and they die. So it's like you just wasted a lot of resources in that Space Marine when he could have been training like an entire squad of sisters. Just saying, just saying, just saying. But I do see that Primaris Space Marines are going to start replacing the normal Space Marine Codex, but not the specialist codexes. So I see them going in and probably doing it to the Imperial Fist, probably doing it to the Salamanders, the White Scars, and things of that nature. Because that codex is meant to be the forefront and the pushed armies onto new customers, which has been working quite well. Excuse me. So don't fear it if you don't play, if you play like Blood Angels or Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Grey Knights, Deathwatch. You don't really have to worry about too many Primaris Space Marines. But if you're playing Ultramarines, yeah, you're going to have to worry about them. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end this right here. I want to thank John for being an amazing mod and actually getting your questions. I want to thank you guys for giving the question. I want to thank the people who subscribe to the channel and who share my videos. It goes a long way to helping the channel. It's just a simple share, even onto your Facebook timeline or onto a Facebook group, actually really helps the channel, or Twitter. You can follow me on social media, and the links in the description is down below. You can follow me on Twitch. I do gaming all the time. I try to do it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Or, no, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and, yeah, that nature. I have a schedule, just not really sticking to it. But anyway, guys, I'm Alexis, the Ego Queen. I love you guys. Bye.